Hi there, and welcome to the Okey's crochet tutorial for making your very own platypus. My name is Haley, and I'm so excited to be crocheting with you today. If you are new to any of the stitches required for crocheting, you can find all of the tutorials up above this video on this page or on the tutorials part of our website. The stitches you will need to know are single crochet, increase, decrease, magic ring alternative, chain, half double crochet, and back loops only. If you are using the Okey's crochet kit, you will receive our 2 colors of our chenille yarn, some stuffing, along with a crochet hook, yarn needle, stitch markers, some safety eyes, and then of course the stuffing. Don't forget to rewind or restart this video at any time. If you need some additional help, we are here to help. All right, let's get started on the body for our platypus. Go ahead and grab your maple syrup tan yarn to start, and we're gonna start with making our magic ring alternative. So for the magic ring alternative, I like to start by wrapping the yarn around my 2 fingers like this, and then taking my crochet hook, going underneath this one to grab the working yarn, pull it under and twist to create a loop, and then yarn over and pull through to create another loop. And then holding your finger on the yarn on the hook, you're gonna take the little tail and just pull gently on that so it closes that up. You've now created a slip knot with a chain 1. So we're gonna yarn over and chain another. And then in the second chain from our hook, we're gonna do 12 single crochets. So we're gonna start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All right, and then I like to just kind of give that yarn tail just a little tug just to make sure that everything is nice and tight. And then we're going to go ahead and attach the stitch marker just onto the first stitch of the round. You can put your stitch markers wherever you want. I just like to do it on the first stitch of every round. Just kind of helps me keep count. All right, we're going to go ahead and start round number 2. We're going to do a single crochet and then an increase, and we're going to repeat it 6 times. So single, and then remember an increase is just 2 single crochets in the same stitch. Right. Single, increase, single, increase, single, increase, single, increase. And then our last ones, single, and an increase. All right, go ahead and move that stitch marker up. All right, round number 3, we're going to be doing 2 single crochets and then an increase, and we're going to repeat that 6 times. So I'll go 1, 2, increase, 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 1, 2, increase. All right, go ahead and move that stitch marker. All right, round number 4, we're doing 3 single crochets and then an increase, repeating it 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, increase, 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 1, 2, 3, increase. All right, go ahead and move that stitch marker. All right, round number 5, we're doing 4 single crochets and then an increase, repeating it 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 2, 3, 4, increase, 1, 2, 3, 4, increase, 1, 2, 3, 4, increase. All right, move that stitch marker up. All right, for rounds number 6 and 7, we're just doing 36 single crochets around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Move that stitch marker. All right, round 7, same thing. We're going to do 36 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. Go ahead and move that stitch marker. Right, round number 8, we're doing 5 single crochets and an increase, repeating it 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, increase. All right, at this point your piece should be kind of curving, so make sure that you have it the right way, which means that this beginning yarn tail is going to be tucked inside. So like that, not like this. All right, go ahead and move that stitch marker. All right, rounds 9 through 14, we're just doing 42 single crochets all the way around. So let's do round 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. Move that stitch marker. Alright, round 10, same thing, 42 single crochets. Move that stitch marker. All right, round 11, same thing, 42 single crochets. Move the stitch marker. Round number 12, same thing, we're going to do 42 single crochets. Move that stitch marker. Round 13, yet again, 42 single crochets. All right, move that stitch marker. Round 14 is our last time doing 42 single crochets. All right, move that stitch marker up. Right, round number 15, we're doing 5 single crochets and then a decrease. We're repeating it 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And for this project, I'll be doing invisible decreases, but if you feel more comfortable just with regular decreases, do whatever makes you most comfortable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decrease, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, decrease. Move that stitch marker. All right, round 16, we're doing 36 single crochets. Move that stitch marker up. All right, we're gonna go ahead and place the safety eyes right now. So for these eyes, I like to place them between rounds 7 and 8, and we're gonna go about 8 stitches apart. So we're gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. You can also go to 8 and 9 if you want to. It just kind of depends on how you want your platypus to look. So we're gonna put it there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it should look something like that. If you want to, you can go down a row too. Totally up to you. I'm actually gonna go down one. But right there, and you should have plenty of stitches in between. You should be able to see 6 stitches. And then, because we have to put the mouth right in between it, so make sure that you have plenty of room for a mouth. I'm gonna go ahead and add the backs to the safety eyes. Make sure you hear them click, so we make sure that they're on all the way. All right, once those safety eyes are on, you're good to keep going. All right, round 17, we're gonna do 4 single crochets and then a decrease. We're repeating it 6 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, decrease. Go ahead and move that stitch marker. Right, round 18, we're doing 3 single crochets and a decrease, repeating 6 times. 1, 2, 3, decrease, 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 1, 2, 3, decrease. All right, move that stitch marker. Round 19, we're doing 2 single crochets and a decrease, repeating it 6 times. 1, 2, decrease, 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 1, 2, decrease. All right, go ahead and move that stitch marker. All right, and I'm going to take a second to stuff. Go ahead and grab the stuffing. All right, so to stuff it, we're going to start by just shoving some in. Doesn't have to be in any specific way, just shove some in. And that once you get a little in, stick your fingers in to the middle and push it all to the outsides, and that's how we're going to continue stuffing the whole thing. So put it in to the middle push it to the sides. That just makes sure that we get the whole thing stuffed correctly instead of leaving little gaps. And then as you can see, as you're stuffing it, it'll kind of turn really round. Then you just kind of squish it back, move the stuffing, turns back to the right shape for our platypus. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and keep adding more stuffing. You can stop adding stuffing whenever you feel like you have a good amount that you would like. You can add as much or as little as you want. But again, make sure you're stuffing it in the right way. So, all right, that looks good to me. You want it kind of firm, but not too hard. All right. Keep going. Around 20, we're doing a single crochet and then a decrease, repeating 6 times. So single, single, decrease, single, decrease, single, decrease, single, decrease, single, decrease. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take the stitch marker completely out at this point. It's just going to get really hard to keep it in with it being so small now. All right, and we're going to do the last round. Round 21 is just 6 decreases. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Finish it off. We're going to leave a little yarn tail. Cut it off. And then we're going to grab our yarn needle. We're going to go ahead and thread it through. Whoops. And then we're just going to go ahead and thread our yarn needle through the front loops of those last 6 decreases, and this is what's going to close up that hole. Remember, you're going through the front loops only. All right, and then I like to just go ahead and end it off with sticking the needle in and then just pull it out somewhere random. Cut it off. All right, and now we are completely done with the platypus body. So now that we have it, we can kind of reshape them. So I just kind of like to roll it because we want it to be a We don't want it to just be a circle. So perfect. There we are, little platypus body. All right, now sticking with our maple syrup tan yarn, we're gonna move on to the arms. So we're gonna go ahead and start with our magic ring alternative. And we're gonna do 8 single crochets for our magic ring alternative. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, rounds 2 and 3, we're just doing 8 single crochets around. So I'm not gonna use a stitch marker just because it's kind of small, but if you need one, go for it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then after the first round of 8 single crochets, I like to make sure that I flip it before it gets too difficult. And then another 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. I like to tuck that little yarn tail in. And then to finish off our little arm, we're just gonna do a slip stitch and then leave a yarn tail to sew it on. Right. One more arm. So same thing, we're gonna do our magic ring alternative with 8 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, again, 2 rounds, just 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, go ahead, flip it. And then another 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, go ahead and slip stitch. Cut it off, and now we are completely done with the maple syrup tan color. So you can go ahead and put that away. Go ahead and grab out your Cocoa Dreams brown so we can get started on the rest of our platypus. We're going to start with our magic ring alternative, and we're doing 6 single crochets for this one. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And then for round 2, we're going to do 6 single crochets again, but these ones are going to be in the back loops only. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go ahead and flip it. Do another 6 single crochets for round 3, but this time you're going in both loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, go ahead and just stick that yarn tail in the middle. Then we're going to end it with a slip stitch. All right, so then with the back loops, you can't really see it super well, but you should be able to see that there's like a solid part, and then you can see all the front loops, and we're gonna work in those front loops in just a second to add some little toes on there. So go ahead and just set the feet off to the side for now, and then we'll come back to them once we've done both of them. All right, so same thing, our magic ring alternative, 6 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Oops. All right, remember round 2, 6 single crochets only in the back loops. Right, then go ahead, flip. Then another 6 single crochets in both loops. Then remember just to slip stitch. All right, set it aside. Now we are on to the mouth. So we're gonna start with doing just this first step of our magic ring alternative and like the chain 2, but then we're gonna chain 4 more, so it'll be a chain of 6. All right, then we're gonna start in the second chain from the hook. We're gonna start with 4 single crochets. 2, 3, 4, and then in that last one, we're gonna do 3 single crochets in 1 stitch. So 1, 2, 3, and you should naturally see that it's gonna turn when you do those 3. So now we're gonna work on the opposite side of those 4 single crochets we already did. We're gonna go back with 3 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and then we're gonna do an increase to finish off the first round. So you'll see that. And then rounds 2, 3, and 4 are just 12 single crochets around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Make sure that you flip it, and then 2 more rounds of 12 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, we're going to do one more round of 12 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Go ahead and slip stitch to end it off. All right. There is our mouth. Go ahead and set it off to the side for now. All right, so for the tail, we're going to start with our magic ring alternative. And we're going to do 6 single crochets for it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. And then just to start this round, I'm just going to count. I'm not going to use a stitch marker yet, just because it's kind of small for this area. But we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase, and we're going to repeat it 3 times. So, single, increase, single, all right, single, or increase. All right, remember to flip your piece if you can. And then round 3, we're doing 9 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, now that I've kind of gotten it a little bit bigger, I'm gonna put my stitch marker in so that I know where I am. All right, round 4, we're gonna do 2 single crochets and then an increase, and we're repeating it 3 times. So 1, 2, 'Crease. 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase. All right. Move that stitch marker, and round 5, we're going to do 12 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Move that stitch marker up. All right, round 6, or same thing, 12 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Move your stitch marker. Okay, round 7, we're going to do 12 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, move that stitch marker. All right, last round, round 8, 12 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Take that stitch marker out. All right, so for the tail, we're gonna be folding it in half and single crocheting it shut. For this tail, we want it to be flat, so we're not gonna stuff it. And then you're gonna single crochet through both sides, and you're gonna do 6 across. All right, leave a little tail. All right, now that we have all the pieces done, we're gonna go ahead and start sewing. The first thing that we're going to attach is the mouth. It's definitely the easiest one to place just because the placement's kind of set. Okay, go ahead and tie it onto that. All right, and then I like to use another stitch marker or yarn needle. And all I'm going to do is place the mouth. We're going to kind of put it so the top is going to be sewn right in the middle of the eyes. And then I like to just take another yarn needle and stick it in so it's through the body and the mouth, and that just kind of helps hold it in place a little bit while I'm sewing. And then obviously I still use my hand to hold it on a little, but this way I don't have to worry so much about it coming and being in a weird direction. So go ahead and just sew that on. Right, and then once I get kind of the first little bit done, then I will pull that yarn needle out just to make sure that I don't accidentally leave it in there. All right. Once you finish getting the whole thing on, like so, just go ahead and take your yarn needle, and I just like to, again, insert it, pull it out somewhere random on the body. This just kind of helps secure it on a little bit tighter. All right. The next easiest thing to place is going to be the arms, so go ahead and grab an arm. All right, so for the arms, I like to kind of place them kind of the same place, but we're going to go the middle of where we placed the mouth, so right underneath the eye. And then we're going to go about 4 stitches back. And then I like to place it right there so that the top is right where I'm going to start my stitch. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to stick the yarn needle in there, and that just kind of helps, again, hold it in place while I sew. And then you can kind of see the placement of it before you really get into it. And just start sewing. If that happens where you get some stuffing coming out of it, just leave it and then cut it off at the end. That's what I usually find easiest, because if you just keep pulling it, it's just going to keep coming out. All right. Again, just insert it, bring it out somewhere else. All right, and then you can just kind of go in with like your scissors or your crochet hook to just kind of pull it, and then I just kind of cut and then just tuck it back in. All right. Go ahead and we're gonna do this other arm. Same placement. Sometimes what I'll do too is just start with the first one and I'll just hook it on first and then decide the placement and place this, like the angle of it. So I've done it both ways. Both ways work, or you don't even have to use that extra yarn needle if you don't want to. I just find it helpful. A little less stressful because you're not trying to hold it on at the same time, so. And once we get both arms on, you can kind of choose what you want to do next. If you feel like it's going to be easier to do the legs or the tail, it's kind of up to you. I like to do the legs first, but you can do the tail if you want to. So go ahead and grab a leg. Tie it onto your yarn needle. And so for the leg placement, we honestly, you kind of want to go in between the eye and the wing. So it's kind of going to be in the middle of the two. And then again, I like to use that, it just helps, especially when you're sewing in a circle. Alright, you know the process. Pull it in, stick it out. Alright, grab the other leg. Alright. Kind of the same placement on the other leg. You should be able to see about 6 stitches in between the two. And then just start sewing. Alright, now before we do the tail, we're going to add the little toes onto the legs just so that it can sit flat on the back. So we're going to go back in with our Cocoa Dreams brown and we're going to find the front loops of our leg, and we're just going to go on one of the sides and insert our hook into the front loops. They're kind of small. And then just attach it. I like to start by just doing a knot, so I wrap the yarn tail around and pull it through. That way it starts at least with a little knot. And then insert it into that and pull up a loop. And then we're gonna do a double crochet and then a slip stitch, and we're gonna repeat it 3 times for 3 toes. So to do a double crochet, we're gonna yarn over. We're going to insert our hook into the next front loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. And then you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. And then just repeat that again. So another double crochet, a slip stitch, and then another double crochet, and then a slip stitch. Pull it tight. And then now you have the little toes on the little foot. So all you're gonna do is take your crochet hook, and I like to stick it into the body like this, but then pull it up through the leg. Yarn over and then just use it to pull through. There we go. And then just go ahead and cut it off. And then do the same thing on the other end for the shorter yarn tail. And then you just have some little toes on there. Now we're going to go ahead and repeat it on the other leg. So again, insert it. You don't have to start it with a little knot like I do. That's just for my own, so I feel better and I know that it's not going to come unraveled. All right, and then go ahead and start it with a double crochet. It can be hard because they're so small that we're working on, but just do your very best. If you don't want to add these, you don't have to. This is just kind of a cute little addition. Slip stitch, double crochet, it can be hard to go into the single or into the front loops, but sometimes I like to take my scissors or my yarn needle and just make sure that it's right there. And then I usually can get in there. All right, little toes are done. We just have to kind of blend. This in. All right. We have a couple little toes on our little platypus, and now to finish, we just have to do the tail. The tail is probably the easiest part to sew on just because we did a straight line of single crochets. So go ahead and attach it to your yarn needle. And you can see with the tail, it kind of has a natural like curve to it slightly. So we want to make sure that it's curving up when attached to the body. We want it to curve up. So I like to kind of get it in the center, pull it up like that, or place it and pull it down. Do it. Alright, and then just right where I placed it for the single crochets, we're just gonna sew through all the single crochets on that top part. You want to make sure you go through all 6. All right. Perfect. Go ahead and pull that out. And now your cute little platypus is all complete with his little beak, feet and toes, and we got a cute little tail on him. Thank you so much for watching this Okey Dokey's crochet tutorial on how to make our adorable platypus. I would love to see your creations, so if you share them on social media, please tag us at Okey Dokey's Crochet, and we will see you guys next time.